The Archive, once called secret. Deep inside Vatican City, there is a room that holds over 1,000 years of secrets. The private letters of kings, the trial that silenced science, the documents that may prove an innocent order was burned alive. For centuries, nobody outside the Vatican was allowed to read a single word. Some of those doors have finally opened. What's inside will surprise you. Before I continue, please give this video a thumbs up and share it with your friends so more people can discover this content. I'm on a mission to hit 1,000 subscribers, so if you haven't already, please subscribe. Every single one counts and helps this channel grow. They called it the Secret Archive. And for centuries, that is exactly what it was. Not secret in the way we use that word today, not a place of conspiracies and hidden rooms, but private in the way a monarch's correspondence is private. These were the Pope's own records, his letters to kings and emperors, his orders and his doubts, the accumulated weight of 1,000 years of decisions made behind closed doors. And for most of that time, no one outside the Vatican's inner circle was permitted to read a single word. That began to change in 1881, when Pope Leo XIII allowed outside scholars limited access. But limited is doing a great deal of work in that sentence. Even today, you cannot simply walk in. You must apply. You must qualify. You must wait. And when you finally sit down at one of the reading tables inside Vatican City, you are permitted to request documents, but not to wander freely among them. The archive reveals itself slowly, reluctantly, on its own terms. What lies inside is nothing less than the paper spine of Western civilization. Consider the trial of Galileo Galilei. In 1633, the most celebrated scientist in Europe was brought before the Inquisition and forced to recant what he knew to be true, that the Earth moves around the sun. The trial records sit in the Vatican Apostolic Archives, and they are among the most requested documents in the entire collection, not because the outcome is a mystery, but because the process is. What exactly was said in those interrogation rooms? What did the cardinals genuinely believe, and what did they simply find convenient to believe? What did Galileo say when no one outside the church was listening? The documents answer these questions. They show us in meticulous detail the machinery by which an institution decides what the universe is allowed to mean and what happens to those who disagree. It is not a comfortable story, but it is an honest one. And that honesty is precisely why scholars keep asking to read it. Then there is the question that has haunted historians for 80 years. What did the Vatican know about the Holocaust? And what, knowing what it knew, did it choose to do? Pope Pius XII led the Catholic Church throughout the Second World War. He has been praised as a man who saved Jewish lives through quiet diplomacy and condemned as one who stayed silent when the world needed a voice. For decades, the argument raged without resolution because the primary evidence was sealed inside the Vatican's archives, and no one outside could read it. In 2020, those records were finally opened to researchers. What scholars found was not a simple verdict of guilt or innocence. It was something more difficult: nuance, contradiction. A pope navigating an impossible situation, making choices whose consequences he could not fully foresee, leaving behind a paper trail that resists easy judgment. The history we are now writing about that period is different from the history written before those doors opened. It will keep changing as more scholars read more documents. That process, slow, painstaking, perpetually unfinished, is how the truth actually works. Some stories in the archives are older and stranger. In the early 14th century, the Knights Templar, the most powerful military order in Christendom, were arrested, tortured, and tried for heresy. Their leader, Jacques de Molay, was burned at the stake in Paris in 1314. The order was dissolved. Their wealth was seized. Their name was destroyed. But folded somewhere within the Vatican's holdings is a document known as the Chinon Parchment. And what it appears to suggest is this, that Pope Clement V, in a secret hearing in 1308, may have privately absolved the Templars of the very heresy for which they were publicly condemned. If that is true, if the Pope knew they were innocent and permitted their destruction anyway, then what we are looking at is not a miscarriage of justice, but a deliberate one. A pope bowing to political pressure from a French king who wanted the Templars' riches and could not afford to let them survive. The document was rediscovered in 2001, misfiled for centuries among unrelated papers. It had been there the entire time. Not every document in the archives announces its significance with drama. Some of the most illuminating material is found in the private correspondence surrounding the Protestant Reformation, the letters Martin Luther's challenge provoked from within the Church itself. What did the cardinals actually say to one another when they read his 95 theses? What did they fear? What did they dismiss? When did they first realize that this was not another minor dispute, but something that would fracture Christianity permanently? These letters are extraordinary precisely because they were never meant to be read by anyone outside the Vatican. They are unguarded. They reveal doubt, panic, arrogance, and occasionally something that looks very much like genuine faith wrestling with an impossible question. They are, in other words, deeply human documents, produced by an institution that preferred to present itself as something above humanity. Similar material surrounds the break with England. The correspondence between Rome and Henry VIII reads today almost like a slow-motion catastrophe in real time. A marriage dissolving, a kingdom fracturing, two powerful men, each convinced the other, would eventually blink first. Neither did. A new church was born, and the letters that preceded it all sat undisturbed in a Roman archive for 500 years. The archives extend far beyond individual figures and famous trials. They contain the records of the Inquisition, transcripts of trials, confessions extracted under pressure, and the legal arguments constructed to justify them. They also preserve reports from missionaries who traveled across the Americas, Asia, and Africa, some of the earliest European accounts of cultures previously unknown to the West. These documents are among the most requested because they illuminate not just what happened, but how people at the time understood what they were doing. What makes the Vatican Apostolic Archives unlike any other collection in the world is not simply age or volume or prestige. It is continuity. A single institution has kept records without interruption across the fall of the Roman Empire, the fracturing of Christianity, the age of exploration, the Enlightenment, 2 world wars, and the birth of the modern world. No national archive can offer that. No library, no government. The result is a through line connecting the medieval world to our own, written by the same hand, stored in the same place. Every decade, more of it becomes accessible. Every decade, the history we thought we knew has to be rewritten. All of it is still there. 85 kilometers of shelving, millions of documents, 1,000 years of human beings writing things down because they believed at the moment of writing that what they had to say mattered. Most of it has never been read by anyone outside the Vatican. The past is not yet fully known. It is still waiting, quietly, in a room beneath one of the oldest centers of civilization in the Western world. And that is why the Vatican Apostolic Archives remain one of the most requested, most studied, and most compelling collections on Earth, not because they hide the truth, but because they reveal it slowly, piece by piece, to those willing to look. The archives are still giving up their secrets. So are we. Subscribe to stay with us. Like this video if history deserves to be heard. Share it with someone who thinks the past is finished. And leave a comment, because the best conversations happen after the last word.